My friend Amahl Williams, thank you very much for being with us today in this episode in Modern Revenue Architects. I want to thank you for the time that you're giving us this fine morning. If you can help us to understand who you are, some of the background, what are the things that you're building. It's very exciting to talk to someone that is in the AI space and all the exciting things that we're going to cover in this beautiful episode.
Yeah, so Louis, thrilled to be here. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate the opportunity, and again, I've been excited about this since you sent me that first email, man. So can't wait to get started. Let's see the stuff that matters. I think is to humanize myself, right? Husband, father, 2 children, right? I am a robot nerd. I talk to the robots all day. I play with the robots all day. I've been in artificial intelligence properly, right, since 2017. I'm not one of those guys who goes back and pretends that every single bit of automation is artificial intelligence. We know it's not, right? Let's be well behaved. And so anytime I get to talk about AI, its evolution, its maturation, its applicability to not only us professionally and personally to improve outcomes, I'm always excited. So right now I am working with Narada. I'm also working with Uplevel. So Narada is really, really cool. Narada is a large action model that allows us to deliver on the promises that RPA alone cannot keep. So back when I joined industry, Louis, we used to talk about things like end-to-end automation, and we were doing, cutting and pasting. Right? We were filling out just ETL, right? If you understand extract, transform, load, sometimes the human is involved. Sometimes the business rules are so straightforward that the human doesn't need to be involved. If you understand that, you can kind of understand the possibilities and features that we have now. So fast forward, large language models show up, right? Everybody's a writer now. Everybody's a media journalist. Everybody can write SOWs, what have you, right? Limitless. But while people were focusing on large language models 2 years ago, we were focusing on large action models. So now we take it a step further. Our voice, right, doesn't create text. It creates workflows. And the best part about those workflows is it doesn't matter if you have an API or not. And that's the part that got really exciting and compelling to me. So that's one hat. 2 is Uplevel. It's going to be the largest female-sourced data model in the world, right? It's a platform that's built by women for women very specifically to help them personally and professionally become digital natives, right? So to make them familiar with AI and all of its applicability to their personal health, managing their homes, managing their professions, managing their relationships. So both platforms I'm really thrilled to be a part of. It's very, very new days. It's been since June. Traditionally, I worked for some of the top 30 implementers in the world around artificial intelligence. I think most famously is the Symphony acquisition by Sykes. It was a $90 million acquisition. If you look across the rest of the industry, nobody else has done that since, right? And I've worked for a lot of those folks. So again, really thrilled to be here. Can't wait to kind of dig into both of those opportunities and the things that I'm working on, especially today's project. After I get done speaking with you, Louis, I'm doing something that I think is groundbreaking and truly innovative in artificial intelligence. We can get to that a little bit later.
Love it. And when you mentioned on those 2 avenues, let's say you have mentioned before in Uplevel. Is that correct? Uplevel.
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's some time speaking business, like there's the addressable markets that you mentioned previously in an intro call that we had. That's very exciting, and just so that people can grasp the idea of what is the pie look like in the the market, and also on the women's side. That's so exciting, man, and that's so empowering. I want you to cover those 2 ones, and then to see like how that is going to help this women to just build some businesses around AI.
Yeah, so let's do the easy one first, right? Because Narada is so massive that I want to just talk about it in its enormity. But I think from a meaning purpose, right? I don't want to discredit one over the other, but I think Uplevel is transformative, right? I think it's meaningful. I think it's going to be paramount. I wrote the first RPA curriculum in the Americas. I thought that would be impactful. We have some data that talks about the student outcomes. What Uplevel does to democratize artificial intelligence from a gender perspective, there's not another platform out there doing it right now. We were in Bloomberg. They recognized it as such, right? So let's just talk about Narada quickly, and I'll talk about my lineage, right? So when I joined the industry back in 2017, the company was worth maybe $10 million, right? So I worked for a $10 million company without naming them specifically. They were an implementation partner for one of the major RPA firms in the world. It's $10 million. It was exciting to me because we were getting a lot of traction. It was a brand new technology. I wanted to be in AI really badly. I had been writing about blockchain and AI in Forbes for longer than I care to remember. Articles are typically how people find me, right? And so that article led to me becoming an employee there. So I went from a $10 million firm to a firm that was acquired for $90 million, right? The first time I became partner, I went to a firm that was doing about $30 million in the United States, right? After that, I went to the largest firm that's private, right? Company called Uplevyl, right? They do about 90 million annually, right? Largest private, uncontested heavyweight champion for private firms. The CEO was a former customer of mine. So when I first joined the industry, he was head of transformation at IHG. He was the CEO at Roboyo at the time. I reached out to him. Things kind of worked out, right? So at that time, you've heard the numbers, 10 million, 80 million, what have you, right? You understand what those are. I still think that the Symphony acquisition by Sykes is peerless because they struck at the right time. So they were the first to get acquired. That was major. I thought initially at the time that acquisition was going to have a ripple effect that would rise these other brands to it didn't happen. It's very interesting. It's 2025 and, you haven't seen major acquisitions. You haven't seen PR released how much it was. You might see mergers. You might see acquisitions, but you know what they don't publish? The number. There's a reason for that, right? If it's significant, you would make it public, right? So in my estimation, they can't be as high, right? Because to me, if you're acquired for $100 million, you would say that aloud. I would say that aloud. I would say that in public, right? So if I look at RPA and the niche boutique marketplace, if I just from my business school, right? The market cap isn't 100 million, but I see 40 people fighting over, let's say, $500 million in services revenue. That's what I see. Right? Fast forward to Narada, based on all the models that I've run, it's $1 trillion marketplace, right? So the agentic space, the numbers are staggering. If we become, and this is our charter, we want to become the middleware for the agentic marketplace, the first thing we have to do is capture 1% of that market. So in the next 18 months, if we're the unicorn that I think we are, if we capture 1% of the marketplace, that's a $10 billion company. I've never worked for a company that's gone from whatever number we're at today to that number. It's the first time I would have done that. Now, why do I believe that's possible without disclosing the clients? Because I'm still at a youthful stage where we can't disclose all of the folks. Some of our first clients, right, are not only household names, but there's not a single one that's under $60 billion. So the first people that said, we trust you to bring us from the Stone Ages into the digital ages with agentic, they're all publicly traded. You can buy them on the stock exchange. Since I've joined, two very significantly well-known brands, I can't name them yet. One is publicly trading for about $250 per share. They're one of the largest implementers in the world, right? 15% market share. We just started working with them last month. The week prior to that, we just started working with a $10 billion competitor of that company around implementing and automating complex use cases. Louis, they're so complex that other firms would not even attempt to automate them. I'm not doing braggadocio here. Some of these workflows and traditional implementation best practices, they are not considered low-hanging fruit because they are so complex. It's 10 different applications, screens, systems, rules, right? Humans, no humans, mainframes, APIs, no APIs. So why it's really compelling is that if I land a $70 million client, this is ARR, which is ridiculous to me, but $70 million in ARR, $120 million. I've never done this before. $120 million in ARR at maturity. If we can deliver proof of concepts and pilots in 16 business hours, how much faster can we scale now? Traditionally, acquisition, merger, partnership to mature takes 24 months. If I can do a production pilot bi-weekly, fortnightly at publicly traded companies, how many clients can I onboard in a calendar year? I know the number, it's in my head, right? When I started at Wonderbots, we did 12 clients in a year, and I was like, ooh, we're on fire, right? Next year, 22, I'm like, oh, we're killing it. I can onboard 70 clients in a single calendar year. We don't have to change a single headcount. And because of Agentic, I can onboard 70 clients in a single customer instance. I won't tell you about the rest because they're stacked. Louis, one of my customers has 22,000 customers. Right? And the way that we work is that there is a subscription fee per instance, and then there's a utilization fee per action. Like the math itself, and the clients are not balking at this because of the problems that we're solving. So that's Narada. I think it's going to be a $10 billion company. It's August 6th, 2025. we have to do this again in August of 2027, right? Because I want it to be true, right? Let's get to Uplevel.
Let's make that happen. And then before you do that, so the opportunity. So right now, just to grasp that, that's why. And let's think about some of the folks that are saying that there's going to be companies that are $1 billion companies with one person. That's exactly the example of what you're saying. But what are your thoughts there?
Well, let me be cheeky, right? So best practices is that we have human guardrails, okay? I know some people who are ambivert and introvert, they can't stand the humans, right? We tolerate them to the best of our ability. But let's be clear, unless there's a new business model that I am not aware of, which is totally possible, you can't do one to many, right? I believe proper functional agency, right? So agency at the functional level, if you're practicing what I believe are ethical, right, and responsible AI best practices, you have a human head on top of each function. Right. So there's 7 silos, Verizon customer, right? 7 silos, maybe there's 10, call it whatever you want, add new C-suites, right? Every single C-suite function needs, I believe, a human to support it and an agent to support the human. Okay. So one to maybe, I don't know, it'd have to be like a content creator or something like this, like Mr. Beast, maybe, but he has a team, right? So I don't think it's one. I think it's one-to-one. Right. So if we have agency in finance, operations, HR, sales, what have you, then I think that what you're talking about is totally reasonable. And I think it's totally realistic. I just don't think that old number, it used to be for every piece that this is old database, right? So before the pandemic, they would say that you made $1 million per employee. We know that's not true. You make about $80,000 per employee. But if I had a 100 employee firm, its potential was $100 million. We know that's not true. Right. So I think that if you take the RPA equation, which is 1 robot for every 3 to 5 humans, right? In some use cases, I've done clinical automation where I've done the work of 200 clinicians with 11 robots, right? That's extreme case, very rudimentary cutting and pasting. I think the appropriate equation for me is not only one-to-one, right? Agent to person, because we know the outcomes are better, period. Like I'm tired of debating that. We are not better without technology. It's not true, right? Scientifically, we know that's not true. And I also believe that agency creates that work-life balance that we were all talking about. So in my estimation, it should be one-to-one. I also am really excited, Louis, about revisiting internships, right? So in that business equation, mine would be leadership, agent, intern. And why it's important is because, Louis, everybody talks about the inability to find talent that can scale, right? And if talent has scaled, it's not affordable. It's time for us to start building talent again, right? And let's start taking pride in being able to find talent, right? Enable it, guide it, and matriculate it to viability. And then also, let's pay them a living wage. Yep.
Yeah, and empowered. Like they can be empowered with the tools that we provide, AI, everything. Yeah, love it. So yeah, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, I think it's easier to pivot to Uplevel, right? So that we have a nice little segue. So again, I believe that Narada is going to be a $10 billion company within 18 to 24 months. We'll see what happens. Maybe I get it wrong. Right? The marketplace is still $1 trillion. Our trajectory is ridiculous. And the more and more I look at it, fundamentally, I can't even say some of the names. The names are so exciting. Like I said, the 10 names that just showed up in the last 4 weeks, right? Everybody raises their eyebrows and says they're viable. So I have to wait until it's in production, right? Right, but once it is, but it starts with the SOW, it starts with the NDA, it starts with the discovery call, it starts with the product demonstration, it starts with the light bulbs turning on, right? And then my favorite call is when we have the prototype, we have a targeted customer, and there is a confidence interval from the business leader and the technology leader that Narada can solve the business problem. Like Louis, the last time we did this, which was only 2 weeks ago, guys were like talking trash and cheering on the phone like it was the World Cup or something, and their team just scored. I was like, I smiled, as far as I could without, tapping my lips. And I just missed. I was bored out of my mind before these guys found me. Right? I literally, with all respect to everybody else who I worked for, I was just bored. And part of the reason why I was bored is because when you become good at a thing, right, it fundamentally becomes mundane. Right? So it's not about disrespect or my ego or my ability to understand something different than one another, but OCR and IDP is no longer innovative. It is a necessity for us to automate workflows. So if you're working on IDP and people are excited like it's innovative, with all due respect, if you don't do IDP, you can't do automation. It's not the same thing, right? And that's just where I was spiritually. So when these guys came to find me, they showed me the demo, and I'm like, guys, if this is real, I need you to send me paperwork. Because like, Louis, that's, again, I want you to check out the demo, brother, because like when you see it, first you're going to be like, there's ways to make this happen, but is it being done autonomously? And then second, my favorite part, Louis, we don't have to speed up our demos because that's how fast it is. That's how powerful it is. So let's get to my favorite one, which is Uplevel, right? Uplevel was in Bloomberg a few weeks before I joined, right? So I'm doing my due diligence. I had no idea what it was. I read about it, things I care about: ethics, responsibility, technology, equality, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? I mean, the chart is very easy. I think that we can be more humanistic than we are deterministic. I know that the per capita GDP in the Americas is about $90,000, not $34,000, right? I know that we can solve for a lot of the maladies in our world with 12% reinvestment of our existing budget. Think about that. You want to end world hunger? 12% reinvestment. You want to end homelessness or unhoused or whatever the appropriate term is? 12% reinvestment. 12%. That's true. We know that's true today, right? And so when I saw the charter of this, I said, oh, this makes sense, right? So a few weeks prior, I had just done a presentation at what's called Boston While Black. And I talked about my first book called The Human Edge in AI, but I didn't call it out, right? So here's what I've learned, right? You don't pitch the product, right? Let me tell you all about my book. You describe what's going on in your book, right? So 400 people attend the State Street location in Quincy, right? And I have some other folks up there that are thought leaders. A gentleman who created his own application, right? Former football player from Massachusetts. A woman who retired before 35 from Google. Really smart business model, right? And then the woman who leads DEI from Ernst & Young, right? So we're on stage, broadcast, radio, what have you. Louis, at the end of the event, I'm getting text messages from people who weren't even in the building. Like, that's how meaningful the day was. So I describe kind of what's going on. And I say, hey, guys, guess what? I work a 2-hour workday. They're like, excuse me? I'm like, no, I'm really not kidding. So like, Louis, I use frameworks and methodologies because that's the only thing I understand, right? It's like human doing, follow this path because, we're not all the best version of ourselves at any given day. So I would follow a path. My path was the Pomodoro method, right? And as simply as possible, it's you work for 25 minutes, you reflect for 5 minutes. You organically create a break so that the break doesn't distract you from the deliverables, right? So in every half an hour to an hour, I could do 25 things. So if it was an hour, 25 were done well. If it was a half an hour, 25 things were done. Your GPA kicks in, your quality kicks in, human error kicks in, right? So 12% of that was going to be, I need to revisit this. There's typos in here. What's going on, right? That now takes 90 seconds with artificial intelligence, right? It's funny, Louis, if it took 90 minutes, I would, cancel the podcast, man. It goes from 25 minutes to 90 seconds. That is not an exaggeration. That is how fast the compute is. So not only is it more complete, fewer errors, it's more comprehensive. And so now, as a digital creator, I'm curating content. Mm-hmm. Right? My favorite compliment is like, a human didn't write this. I'm like, are you sure? Right? That's my favorite part, because regardless of who wrote it, guess what you did? You read it. Mm-hmm. And then guess what else happened? It elicited an emotion from you. So guess what? More of my views just went up. My page views, the website views just went up. So I want to teach, I want to enable women to have access to the studio, right? The ability for them to come in on a daily basis and work on their art, right? And when I looked at the curriculum and I looked at the community and how it was curated, one of the questions they asked was like, hey, Amahl, look at this, go through the content, assess it, and evaluate it. And I said, there's no reason for me to, right? Because everybody who I talk to who has genuine interest, concerns, fears, hopes, dreams about what technology can be in this next iteration, right? We're right before superintelligence is gonna be wild. Like if you think the hot takes on LinkedIn are hot now, wait until superintelligence is turned inward on organizations. Watch what we find out. I can't wait. Mm-hmm. Cannot wait. The most nefarious characters in corporations will be exposed at the compute level, and it's well overdue. You cannot be productive if you meet 10 hours a day. I refuse to believe that. Mm-hmm. You are not working 7 days a week. No such place exists. And so we're going to measure people on their compute and their true value to the organization. And that will be my most favorite time of the year because we already know it's true. I'm getting goosebumps. We know it's true already. But now we're going to have a data model that lets us know that the folks that are online all day compute the least. And we know that's true. But now I'll have it written down. And that's my favorite part. So Uplevel will now, I believe, start to close the wage gap, right? Every class of 1,000 graduates that we have, I believe that at the completion of the curriculum, they will come out of it, one, not only more confident and empowered, right? But they will feel compelled to join the future of work, right? We know the stats, right? Without making this gendered specifically, because I feel like we can celebrate a gender without marginalizing another, but let's just talk about the female dynamic. Until a woman historically is 100% qualified, she won't apply. Generally, that's what the data tells us, right? If we qualify them, guess what they do after they complete the curriculum? Guess what some of them will do as opposed to going back into the workforce? They'll start their own businesses.
Absolutely correct.
Right. So this first class of 1,000 women who complete this, right? And again, it's acceptable when I talk about it. Not only is it exciting, but at the end of the conversation, there's a solution. Right? Because again, without discrediting one gender, speaking about another gender, when I speak to women about this, they say, "Hey, what is that? That's interesting. I need to learn some more about it." 2, how do I do it? How hard is it to do? 3, how do I get started? Uplevel answers all 3 of those questions. There's a very specific pathway, but also it's not just a platform that's enablement, right? Because everybody's going to say they have a training platform to, make us all better. It's empowering because if you talk to any African women that come to the Americas, the number one thing they lament is the lack of communal dynamics. There is no community in America, right? Because of individualism and isolationism, there is no community. We're actually afraid to talk to our neighbors right now because of the state of mental health. Talk about that on a separate podcast. So when African women, regardless of where their nationality is from, come to the Americas, the number one thing they tell me all the time is like, Amahl, where's the community stuff? And I'm like, well, there's pockets of it, but it is not a part of the U.S. dynamic, right? The only time the U.S. is communal is if something terrible happens.
Right.
And then at most it evolves into a barbecue for one day and then it dissipates. Nothing else happens, right? So instead of being communal, we're really awesome to our one favorite neighbor. That's not community. Right. So what I love around this is that when we put ourselves into an organization, there are communal dynamics that are exclusive, right, but are inclusive of technology. So that community part of it is my favorite part because the first project that I did was at a community college, right, for I don't want to call it underserved because that's a misnomer, right, intentionally, right, neglected parts of our community. Massachusetts, Fall River, right? We can look at the demographics later, but these people need resources to try to compete, right? If you have resources, I was privileged. I was a scholar athlete, right? People paid me to come to school. That doesn't happen for everybody, right? I was pretty good at school as well. So guess what? It wasn't painful. But some people don't have the resources to get to school. Just start there. How do we educate folks that can't be in class? I know people think that's solvable, but let's be clear. What if I don't have internet that's reliable? What if I don't have my own laptop? Let's take it a level further down. What if I haven't actually eaten that day? Can I focus? Right? So instead of what I did last time, shame on me, I went to the top, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech. Again, I love these institutions, Virginia Commonwealth University, 12 colleges, RPA programs. Those students are graduating. They don't even know me. They're never going to meet me. Right? But with UiPath, right, Blue Prism, I don't think I did AA. I don't believe I did, right? But AA does awesome stuff as well. So let me give them their flowers. If y'all have a second, check out what's called the Mississippi Mud Project, led by Niti Shah. It's my most favorite transformation exercise that I've ever read about. It's public internet. She ended up hiring some of these students, but it was fire because Mississippi, its graduates leave for all the reasons, right? We don't have to get into the historical context of who Mississippi is as an entity, but if 95% of your college graduates are leaving your state after completing education, y'all have a bigger problem. Right? There's a reason for that. We can talk about that on another show. So
that's like we need to line up like 5 episodes with different, like, man, what's going on?
Louis, the robots told me that we had 30 episodes to discuss. I was like, 30? That's a lot. Specifically, right? So UiPath, nice, right? Blue Prism, they helped me create the first RPA curriculum at Nichols in 2021. The reason why it was born is I did the first UiPath cloud installation in 2020 at Virginia Commonwealth University. And what I learned from Eric Gold at the time is Eric said, hey, we're a land grant college. We need to not only employ our students while they're here to offset the cost of education, but we would like to encourage them through enfranchisement to stay. in the market after they graduate. RPA was that answer, right? That's my favorite part. Like, I know, I look out and I look at the degrees and I go back to the schools and I look and I go, I know that kid took that class, not because of me, but he was able to take that class because I existed, right? And because of my team's implementations. And so for the ones that know that it's me, Louis, again, you'll see them occasionally online, they work in RPA jobs. They work at Best Buy. They work at Bright Horizons. They work at State Street Bank. Again, I could rattle them all off. But what I love is that when I came in with the idea, and it wasn't just me, right? Obviously, it was the professors. It was the president at the time. It was the institution. It was the partners, the $1 million donation from NICE. All of those things culminated in this opportunity. But Louis, guess what happened on the tail end, right? The men and women and other that completed the program out-earned their peers by 3x. It's a business school. That's not the only reason why you do it, but let's be clear. I was like, guys, we're running up $120,000 worth of debt, and the students are graduating with $40,000 jobs. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I said it respectfully. I said respectfully, y'all. We're a business school, and we're a cost center. Like, what are we, the government? That's not how we work. And so as soon as I said it politely, everybody started to kind of pick on the challenge. And the president at the time says, hey, Amahl, when you do stuff, other people feel compelled to do it. And he says, not necessarily for all the right reasons, but it doesn't matter. Like, let's use the momentum, right? So it starts to show up. PricewaterhouseCoopers appears, right? Major brands appear. Deloitte appears, right? And now the school goes from having kids go work at, again, with all due respect, no disrespect to these functions, but you did not go and get a 6-figure debt to go work at CVS, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, right? Champ Sports. Again, no disrespect. We all have our lot in life. But
Absolutely.
if you have a debt that's like that, there better be a front end that allows you to retire it, period. Right? That's our reality. So that is true again now with Uplevel. So I wrote that one. Someone else wrote this one, Shubi, actually, and then a conglomerate of women who have been successful in technology across publicly traded companies. And it talks about the things that women care about, but it also incorporates digital literacy and enablement. So if it's literacy, enablement, sustainability, right? Fiduciary responsibility, just self-interest to survive. If we can create a platform and we can make a little bit of profit, right? Again, right? We're in this for a reason, but I like doing things that make people's lives better so that they feel like they're in the driver's seat and they feel like life is happening before them as opposed to happening to them. I believe that's true. And that's why I'm doing it.
I would like to make a parenthesis on this and maybe talk about how when you speak and when you're describing all the endeavors that you're at, you can clearly see, and that's myself, I'm just knowing you a little bit better. Yes, profits, yes, whatever, but at the same time, I believe that you want to make an impact on people. And I really believe also that you enjoy making people having a transformation. And whenever you speak on the projects that you're in, you always end up having this transformational revolution on whatever you're talking about. You mentioned the 12%. You mentioned empowering women. You mentioned world hunger. Like, honestly, I think you're a good person. And then I wanted to just call that out, just to make sure that everyone sees the things that you're mentioning, and then follow you. I would love if you can also talk about the book that you have. And I before I forget, I wanted to because I know women that might benefit from the program. So if you can help us to guide us on how they can enroll, what's the process, to what does that look like, if it's a beta program right now, or if it's online, or if it's a in-person kind of thing.
Yeah, so we, yes, and all of that, right? I'm telling you that, like, I used to get frustrated because you have to make a buck, right? So like when you're in that job that you can't stand, but you want to have the lifestyle it affords you, Mondays are exhausting, bro. Right? You have a bad job when work creeps into your mind on Sunday and you don't feel good. Alternatively, last night, not that it was a Sunday, it was a school night, right? Got to take care of the kids in the morning, so I couldn't stay out too late. But I go to an event hosted in Boston of all the regional, locally elected Black and Brown officials, right? So Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latina, right? African-American. right? It's at a place called Grace by Nia. Like, and it's my favorite place, man. At least in Massachusetts, right? Because it reminds me, if you saw the movie Sinners, it reminds me of a juke joint. It's very classy juke joint, and the food is Afro-Caribbean. So plantains, oxtail, shrimp and grits, right? Jalapeno, bro. Exactly, right? I'll go through the rest of the menu,
Jerk.
right?
Jerk
But
chicken.
it's live music, it's instrumentals. It's my favorite place. Like, I love it every single time that I go there, right? And so if you come to Boston, you come to Seaport, please go, right? And if you've seen the movie Sinners, like, it's gonna tingle. No vampires though. Don't worry about that. There's no vampires there. So last night, right? I meet a company again, artificial intelligence being what it is. I can't tell you the name of the company. It's based in Waltham. Y'all will figure it out after I give you some of the tips. Former elected official, right? Mo Cowan in Boston. I'm walking up with my buddy Tito Jackson, former elected official, right? Ran for mayor, lost to Marty Walsh, right? Tito introduces me to Mo, right? Shake hands, chop it up a little bit. Tito says, hey, Mo, Amal's in artificial intelligence, right? Mo kind of laughs and then pulls me aside. He says, because Tito said artificial intelligence, I know he doesn't know what you do. And so he goes, Amal, tell me what you do. And I said, Mo, I'm going to be cheeky because I just met you, man. And I said, are you guys still typing or are you talking to your computers? And his eyebrow raises. And he says, tell me some more about that. And I said, which vertical matters to you? And he says, hey, tell me about healthcare. And I said, end-to-end automation and ambulatory can happen in 2 months. 150 use cases can be put into production in 2 months, 2 business months. That used to take years. And he says, I want to have you come in and talk to my team about, the art of the possible, ethical and responsible AI. So personally, I get a bag, right, Lewis? If I come in, 60 minutes of Amal time is now $5,000. That's the fair market rate for AI as a state contract, right? I bring Narada to this table. We have the conversation. That company will be public in the year, so we'll see what it turns into. But that business relationship evolved from an affinity-based group around restorative justice, right? Social and communal dynamics. If I'm not there last night, I never meet Mo. So I can bring both of my companies with me wherever I go, right? And so as we're doing our due diligence and our discovery and what have you, and I transform that business, like, Lewis, I love going to companies and say, hey, Ford, if you invest $9 million, you'll save $200 million. And guess what? You don't have to lay off a single person. Right? The good companies like that. Because the good companies know better, right? I'm trying to tell you right now. You lay off 30% of your headcount, we will stop investing in you as consumers. You see what we did to Target. If there's mass layoffs at companies that are profitable and they keep doing it, consumers will boycott them, right? So ethical and responsible transformation is about preserving shareholder value. It's about sleeping at night. It's about your kids actually being proud of what you do. For example, Lewis, I didn't go into cigarette sales when I graduated from college because cigarettes are horrible, right? But I believe that Black Hat AI is synonymous with being a cigarette salesperson. 1, you know exactly what you're doing. 2, you know exactly what happens when you do your job well. And 3, if you have to lie about who you are professionally, should you be doing it? Right? I like the truth because it's easy to remember. It's just how I get down. And so when we talk about these things, very, very specifically, the reason why I'm passionate is because I like it. Like, it feels good because when we talk about it and it becomes real, the first call is always the most challenging because you have to prove that it's real. But once it's real, we've seen everything else already. I've already seen RPA. I've already seen women try to negotiate on merit, right? But when you walk in and you have your certification, if they don't hire you, build your own version and compete with them. It's not as hard as it used to be to compete with major platforms anymore. It's really not, right? One of my clients, right, can't name them again, right? But they're basically the largest data platform for Epic behind the scenes, right? So I'm telling myself, based in Boston, right? We're at the park playing with our kids, and Raj says to me, he's like, hey, Amal, I want to compete with Databricks. I'm like, how serious are you about that? And again, it's not, I promise you, it's not personal, right? I'm kind of like the mob. I go by and I say, would you like to be partners? Right? And then it's that part where the Jewish guy's down south with Michael, and he goes, I'm leaving in the morning. I'll know if I have a partner or not. That's kind of how it feels because I go to my favorite friends first. And I say, there's a business opportunity here where if you incorporate agency into your organization, you build a sustainable moat. right? And let's equate it to football. You're in the Premiership. Would you like to avoid relegation? Right? No disrespect, right? Bournemouth and Leeds are spelled differently for a reason, right? So when we look at it, if you're in the ascendancy, why would you not want to preserve it?
Yeah.
Right? And if you are an upstart who wants to be in the Premiership, how do we shorten that time from 4 years? Because after the fourth year, Lewis, they never ascend. I've been a part of too many forever startups. They never make it past 20 million. And it's always around operational excellence. And once we start counting all of the hay pennies and the shekels, right? Whenever we start counting the money like that, it always starts to disappear. Every single time that I've watched it. So instead of saying, I want to do something that is different than what we've been doing, right? Survival mode is exhausting. Survival mode is exhausting for boards. Survival mode is exhausting for managers. Survival mode is exhausting for the manager's direct line reports, because at a company whose name I will not say that I used to work for, people did not want to get promoted to managing director. And the first time I saw that, I said, why would you not want to matriculate in an organ? And then I saw why. Okay. And so that organization is unhealthy. And it will be an unhealthy organization until it tries to do something different. So for me, what I love, Lewis, is that I go to my friends first, because it's easier to work with your friends.
Yeah.
Right. And I say, guys, we can do something great together if you're willing to do it. Every single entrepreneurial and visionary executive that I reach out to, we go into pilot with. Now, 100% is not the conversion rate. And the reason why is because some people fear the technology, because they realize in production, it is potentially a vampire, right? But I want the vampire bites that make more vampires. They're worried that the vampire bite will kill them. I'm like, no. Once we bite you, right, we're all pretty like Brad Pitt and we live forever, right? Like there's benefits here. Like eventually my stock advice will pay off if I just 400 years of shares of Apple, right? Eventually I'll get it right.
Just don't be on the sun. Just hide on the shade.
Yeah, man, that's it, right? SPF 90.
Exactly. That is hilarious. I love it. And then for joining the Uplevel,
Uplevel.
Yeah. How do one can join and explore this kind of endeavor?
Yeah, so it looks like Uplevyl, right? So www.uplev, right? YL.com, Uplevel. It's on Bloomberg, easy to find us. Please watch our CEO's interview. It's one of my favorite interviews, right? Because it talks about what's possible, right? And why the organization was born. But if you just go to the website, you choose the track that appeals to you. Right. So
Beautiful.
3 people that need to go on there immediately. Hey, if your company told you that they're laying you off, but you're going to get severance in some kind of package, please go to Uplevel. Okay. If your company isn't hiring or promoting and laying people off, please go to Uplevel. If you are a graduate student and you just realize that the top firms are hiring you guys at a 50% clip, right? Lower year over year, which is a wild number to think about, please go to Uplevel. Right. And I want you to go there, and I want you to understand that once you go through the curriculum and you are certified, the business that you start will survive the digital economy. Without it, if you're still going to be a manual laborer, you cannot compete.
No.
You can't compete with my son, right? My son's already like, hey, he talks to the robots. He's like, hey, how can I increase my portfolio by 15%? I'm like, Jackson, come here. Listen, life is about more than that. He's like, Dad, I'm just curious. And he's like, hey, what kind of job can a 10-year-old, have that's profitable? I'm like, Jackson.
Relax. I was watching Dragon Ball at 10. That's funny, man. But yeah, it's true.
They sit around. I love it, right? She'll pop her head in here at some point, right? He's at summer camp and overnight camp being a rock star. But they hear my calls. They hear my meetings. And so this is the beautiful part about when your son turns from 10 to 11. So when he's 5, 6, 7, everything's amazing. He comes on, he's adorable. I'm like, you have to sign an NDA before you because sign this, give it back to me. Send it up. Right? But now, 10, 11, he comes in and he's like, Dad, that sounds like it was a pretty good call. He's like, what's the next steps? He's like, is it the NDA? I'm like, yes. Get out of here. What are you doing? Right? But I used to get frustrated because I would hear, these guys who had small businesses talking about how proud they were of their son using Excel. Okay, cool. It's valuable, right? Whatever. Right? My son now is thinking algorithmically about solving business problems or whatever problem he may have, right? So Louis, when I interview, college graduates now, they've built applications in college that solve student problems. Yeah. You're hired. 6-figure entry-level job. Come on board. Because guess what you're going to do? Create custom applications that solve business problems for Fortune 500 companies. Mm-hmm. If that's what you want to do. For me, I have, like I told you, I have 4 revenue streams, right? I have Narata, I have Uplevel, I have my ad hoc consultancy, which is on the state contract, and I have my 3 books. I not only talked about 2, but I have my 3 books, right? Because every time a book gets launched, I get another idea for a book, right? And the more I learn about technology, I can now tie that into my new story. So not so much, I don't want to be Stephen King, every single month something else is coming out. But every time I have a better understanding about the evolution of technology, right? So when super intelligence launches at the end of this year, I'll be at Cal Berkeley to see it live in a few months. Can't wait. Can't wait to see it in action. Once I understand the technology better, I probably should create an allegory about it. So back to your original question, what are the books about? So the human edge in AI is my allegory of artificial intelligence since I first understood what it was, right? My experience across 50 plus customers, 150 implementations, 40 certifications, 36 months of training. That's the first one. So that's for nerds like us, right? If you're not a nerd, not for you, right? My family like, hey, which book should I get? I'm like, you guys don't have to read all of these, right? So human edge in AI is for practitioners, by practitioners. And my cover art is very specific. If you look at the history of technology over time, starting back when Afro-Asiatic people created algebra and all the way through. So when you look at my art, you understand my inspiration for storytelling, right? So that's human edge in AI. I'm not gonna talk about that a lot. I mean, I'm passionate about it, but I'm excited about Coded Conscious because it's my first book that's gonna be hardcover, hard copy, tangible, right? I love the smell of books.
Oh man.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing because it's going to be in Barnes and Nobles, right? Mm-hmm. I'm also going to focus on Black bookstores as well. I'm going to be doing signings for the rest of the year, probably the rest of my life, but it's going to be in Barnes and Nobles, and it's for civilians, right? So it's about ethical and responsible AI, personally and professionally, right? So I look at, instead of business to business use cases, I look at direct to consumer use cases that are ethical or that I deem ethical, right? And so without calling out brands specifically, some brands are inherently unethical because of what they do at the core of their business. Just who they are. Yep. Some brands are ethical, right? And so I highlight those. I celebrate those. I celebrate the students that help do the work early on days in the Center of Intelligent Process Automation at Nichols. And I celebrate some of the individuals, not specifically by name, but anonymously in what they did to help transform our industry with their innovation. Right? Like, people don't realize this. There's a woman whose first name is Serena. I won't say her last name, right? Because I don't have permission to talk about her yet. She deployed the first Blue Prism cloud ever by an Afro-Latina woman. We don't even know her name. Wow. And I called the company and said, hey guys, you guys just made history in America. Oh, we don't really document it that way. That's a weird thing to say to me. I said, oh, by the way, you guys made history. So when I tell you that I made history, we have a webinar, we have a podcast. Yeah. When I tell some other people that their employees have made history, and I get a long letter. Respectfully, that's a different approach to celebrating innovation. So I wrote the book, one, because I wanted to be an allegory of our impact on artificial, because I know it's here, right? Hidden figures, documentaries, those are all cool, right? We created GPS, we created, the stoplight, we created the super soaker. We created a lot of stuff. But guess what? Like Tom Hanks said, he's like, why haven't I heard about any of these things? He's like, I'm 60-something years old. Why has it taken me so long to understand and learn about this? And the reason why is because there's no allegory. There's no documentation. So I'm going to document our stories. I'm going to share the allegories of the learning, and iteratively, because when I wrote my last book, I didn't know what agentic was. I knew it existed, but I wasn't informed about what it could be. And so my third book, which I wrote the abstract for a day or so ago, it's called Fragmented. And it's going to be looking at our lives through the lenses of how many browsers we use. So if you have 17 browsers, are you pragmatic? Is that operational excellence? Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Or is that digital archaeology? right? So we'll see what happens, right? So that's what's out there. Like I said, Coded Conscience comes out next week. Literally, website's up, portal's up. For folks who are interested in writing books, I do teach a class on how to write your first book. Right? Here's the fun part: if you can create a widget that can be sold while you're asleep, it's the highest margin you'll have in your entire portfolio. If you're an employee, you make between 3 to 7%. Mm-hmm. If you're an author, you make 70 cents on the dollar. My publishing house says that I'll do between 70,000 to 140,000 units within the first 18 months. It's a different lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It's a different dynamic. So that's why it empowers me. It empowers others. It's part of my story. And the more that I learn, and I can articulate it effectively, the more I'll share.
Okay. And if you're a good person, like that's all I'm gonna say. Do you think that someone that wants to get in touch with you, LinkedIn is the best approach? Yes. So we'll be putting your LinkedIn profile for anybody that is watching this, or maybe some shorts or what have you. And connect with you, ask you questions. I have the Uplevyl open here. I will send it over to some folks that I have in mind. Awesome. And then I'll be following you. I feel that your LinkedIn profile is going to be substantially changing on the next following weeks and months. And I'm super proud of all the stuff that you're doing. I don't know if you have any final remarks or any final recommendations for someone that is like, oh, I want to get into AI, or I don't know what I'm doing. And just on the, let's say on the big one, the opportunity and the big problems that you're solving, it could be daunting on thinking, oh, I'll never be able to close a Fortune 500. But what are the things that you started not knowing everything, and now you have the knowledge of knowing that you can close those kinds of clients? What would be your recommendation for someone that needs to be empowered by some statement that make them wake up?
So people are kind of funny, Louis, because my social media content is very redundant, very repetitive, right? And I always joke, I'm like, that's called branding, right? So my favorite tagline is, it's time, right? It's time. And when I first got into the industry, the first 40 hours were exhausting and painful. But I had no idea what I was doing. None. And I sat through 40 hours of training, and then I sat through another 100 hours of training. And then I realized I'm going to have to be in training for the rest of my life. But guess what? Until you learn how to do it, you cannot do it. You're not going to wake up one day, unless you're a savant, and become digitally literate. It's not going to happen. You're not just going to pick it up along the way, kind of playing around with it, casual. You can't be a casual. You can't be a noob, right? Don't have to be an expert either. But you do have to start, right? So if I'm taking the most, purloined, approach to this, whatever you haven't started doing today, you can start doing tomorrow, right? If you haven't downloaded your first tool, watch a video about how to install the first tool, right? Watch the tutorial on how to actually use it, right? Then try to break it, right? But I want you to start, and I don't want you to do, nebulous research, right? Because research, right, is a flight response to trauma. I'm being cheeky. Somebody will research something for 12 months as opposed to doing something about it. So one, choose a tool, use a free one, right? And have it help you solve a couple of your business problems. And then realize that the thing that makes you unique is not your ability to create a prompt, but what makes us unique and special is our ability to curate prompts over time. So your first prompt will be your worst, right? Your best prompt does not exist yet. Mm-hmm. And guess what? You'll never look back at your worst prompts because they won't be useful to you. So number one, get started immediately, right? Find a tool, figure out how to use it. After that, go to Uplevel. After that, come to Narata, right? If you get stuck, call me. I'm on LinkedIn. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, read the book, and exactly. Yeah. Good stuff, man. I really appreciate having you here, my friend. I'm sure we'll be in touch, and I really want to make a subsequent second, third, and see those names coming up, because we will have the stealth, Amahl stealth mode, and then carpet bombing Amahl.
Oh, I like it. Right. Well, let's carpet bomb with something fun like empanadas.
Yeah, man, I'm game.
Taco Tuesday carpet bombing, right? Killer Shot, Mesas, and Birria tacos. But no, let me say one. Well, let me say three. All right, three customers I can say publicly. Cisco, awesome, right? Microsoft, awesome. NVIDIA.
Yeah. With that, we close this. I work with Cisco, not NVIDIA or Microsoft, but yeah, as a corporate employee.
Oh, you are. Oh, you are.
I was a Cisco employee. I built interfaces for training. The Cisco phones, the IP phones that they launched back in 2005 or whatever.
Louis, I was a Verizon employee, so we resold them. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
There you go. So I made the entire e-learning series on how to use a phone if you join the company and things like that.
That's so Louis. I probably took that, man.
There you go.
Yeah. It was Cisco, Avaya, and some other company that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's fun, man.
That's pretty cool, man.
So I thank you very much for this. I will end the recording. I will be around for anything that you need, my friend. And let's be in touch.
Yeah, man, this is great, man. I appreciate you. I think I only misspoke 3 times.